Feasibility. Feasibility is interesting because now we are actually starting to assess things against others. We're saying in this first part, how is the solution feasible to the vision?
Is the solution even possible? Is it possible to bring to fruition with today's technology? Is it possible for you as an individual to be able to pop that solution out without having to go through 10 years of schooling? Is it possible to do in a relatively short time? Is it even possible?
I guess the thing we want to remember too is not to conflate other metrics around this, but to keep the simple variables of this is my vision, this is my proposed solution. Does this solution fit with this vision, yay or nay? And not to say, well, the stakeholders attached to the solution, and no, we're not there yet. For the first part, if this doesn't seal correctly, then the second part is irrelevant. So let's assess specifically vision and solution.
In the example of coffee, if our vision is to create one affordable cup of coffee, that requires a solution that's a very small size. If we're trying to create 1 billion cups of coffee in an instant, well, that's going to require a wholly different solution to feasibly make that happen and pop into reality.
I could use rocket power to boil this cup of coffee, or I could use a tea kettle. And we need to assess. If you need to make 1 billion cups of coffee, that rocket power might be necessary. If you're looking to make an affordable cup of coffee, building a rocket to do it might not be the most feasible solution. It is a solution, but not a feasible solution.
Right. So we really want to right size that solution with the vision. And some of the times, if we're talking about the ideation process, we've got our far out vision, and we can pair that back to maybe what is our vision in the next 6 months? And then we can right size our solution and maybe hit that 6-month goal. And once we've achieved that 6-month goal, we rethink how does that solution change and morph to let me move forward to the next phase. So we don't necessarily have to have a solution that achieves our top line vision step one. We can kind of piecemeal it along.
What can you see within your grand vision? Like, I know my vision is to travel 1,000 miles. I can currently see 1,000 yards. So that is currently my vision. We'll call that sight, for lack of a better word.
Right. Maybe just to add on for one more second, if we do have that larger vision in mind, maybe one of the things that we do want to think about is this solution scalable? Maybe I'm not trying to achieve that larger vision right now. I'm trying to achieve maybe a closer vision, but can I get my head around if we do make it to that first milestone, do I have the ability to change, morph, and move this thing forward in roughly a similar direction to keep kind of moving it forward? That's really the perfect solution, is one that allows you to ideate in a small segment, but then also take it toward a larger, grander vision over time.
What's difficult about when you have a vision and a solution, it's not really all that quantifiable. It's hard to know what to do with that. And that's why market comes next and why that is very essential. What we're looking at here is a way to gain a number that we can validate our solution and vision together. So in this instance, we're looking for a market that is in demand, people who are interested in the solution that we would be providing. And the scale of that will then depict how relevant our solution can be to match our vision. So as an example, if my vision is to create a delicious cup of coffee for the average person, and my potential solution is to do it with a rocket ship, and then my market, I find out, is that there's maybe 1,000 people in the world who are interested in having coffee from a rocket ship, and they'll pay $10 for a cup. That's not a solution because there's not enough market to validate the solution. So that solution might not be feasible based on what we have. And what's fun about the canvas is that you have a modular way. Each of these are meant to be sort of interchangeable as you're moving around your Rubik's Cube that figures out your grand function.
Just as an example of maybe how we can analyze a couple of markets and solution pairs in this framework, and whether or not one is more aligned with vision. We can imagine maybe two different markets. Market A has 100 people. Market B has 200 people. So market B is twice the size of market A. Then we can kind of come up with a concept of, let's say, likely to purchase. And for market A, which had 100 people, let's say that number is 0.5. So we're going to say 0.5 of those people are likely to purchase, let's say. So 100 people, 50 people are likely to purchase. Market B, we've got 200 people. But if their coefficient of kind of likely to purchase is 0.1, we're going to end up with a number of like 20 people that are likely to purchase. So even though we've got a bigger market size and two different solutions to fit those markets, if really what we're trying to do is influence the most people, and that's kind of our vision, well, going with market A and solution A is going to be a lot better path than going with market B and solution B. Now, we'd still want to analyze the feasibility, meaning like the functional feasibility of how easy is that solution to produce or whatever. So there's other variables than just, that one kind of coefficient. But that's kind of just an example of how different markets and different solutions might kind of guide you differently depending on what your vision is and what solution can most align with how to get you there.
So after you've decided on the feasibility related to the vision and the solution, then you can start to actually quantify it in a way that's a little bit more tangible once we add in the stakeholders and this market aspect that we've been speaking to. So the market is a quantifiable thing. We can take our addressable market and we can decide if this is going to be financially feasible for our solution that matches said vision. So the upside is that now we can say, we assume our addressable market is $100 million, but to make this solution, it's going to cost $1 billion. This is not a solution. Could be a good market, but not the solution. So new solution. Maybe I hold on to this market aspect for a minute and put in a new solution piece. That's what's cool about this canvas, is that it's modular and you can build it in as you're finding pieces that work and pieces that don't. You approve or negate your idea and you keep moving it and adjusting it around in that same premise. So what I think with where it begins to get a little muddy and confusing, sometimes anyway, because there's so many ways to solve for something, it can be difficult to know how to actually quantify the solution. There is a little bit of a gut check that has to happen with your solution to say, okay, this market does seem possible. Does this solution truly seem feasible? And you are kind of almost giving it a numeric value to assess its truth to you. That is a little bit of a way of creating an amalgam to address the actual quantifiable value of the market solution vision block of analysis.
When we look at our solution circle, for me, feasibility is really the frame of reference that we're kind of digesting that model from. And by that, what I mean is really when we're analyzing so we've got our solution in the middle and we've got problem, customer, and vision running around the outside. And as we talked about, that's kind of how we iterate on these things. And really what we want to have happen is if we have the perfect solution, really the vision, the problem, and the customers that are running outside of that circle that is kind of modifying that solution, when we have something that is feasible, basically those equate to each other, meaning that the solution that we come up will be perfectly aligned with the vision, the problem, and the customer that we've identified on our ideation matrix. So really what we're saying is you have the ability to kind of change these pieces on the ideation matrix and then kind of rejudge and reframe and say, okay, is this feasible? And so we take that frame of reference of saying, is what I came up with feasible here? And if it's not, I can change out any one of those pieces to kind of re-lock in my solution circle and kind of redo a feasibility analysis.
What I like about the difference between our two charts, the canvas and the circle, we'll call it the cyclone, there's feasibility on the canvas, but the way I think about that is almost like it's a binary. It's a 1 or a 0. Do our previous module, the boxes line up, yes or no? And if they don't, we can swap out, as you were saying, one of those to reassess based with a new variable. And that makes sense. That is why it's able to be a cycle, but you would have it on the canvas, but not on the cyclone. And that's interesting, but I mean, that really does speak to how important assessing feasibility is to the greater whole. Because it's not just about, did I make something that works? Is it feasible to the grand whole?